One of the things I always tell people, because it was my experience, is that in order to get the deliberate practice aspect of skill acquisition applied to writing, like if you want to get better at writing fast, you have to be writing for editing and you have to be writing in the context of acceptance and rejections. Because writing is one of these things where everyone can do it well enough that if you're mainly just writing on your own, so I'm writing in a journal, I'm writing a blog, I'm doing National Novel Writing Month, it's just me, working on my novel, you don't necessarily get that stretch that's going to improve your skills. And so the thing that mattered for me is that I was writing for editing and for acceptance and rejection. So
for editing, meaning writing for an editor, you have a reader.
An editor who's going to edit it and also will reject it if it's not good. And so this is actually why writing for the humor publication was a big deal. I mean, you probably remember from your time in Ivy League schools in particular, there's a real culture around humor writing because it used to be, back in the days where everything was the sort of old boys network, the vast majority of comedy writers for shows like SNL or The Tonight Show, they were coming out of these Ivy League humor societies.
What is the name of the humor magazine at Dartmouth?
At Dartmouth, it's the Jack-o'-lantern.
The Jack-o'-lantern. And people may have heard the term lampoon. The lampoon is out of Harvard, and then you have a number of different magazines at Princeton and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And then they all have these huge old histories, so like Dr. Seuss did cartoons for the Dartmouth Jack-o'-lantern in the 1920s. And, anyways, so that's a very competitive world. You would pitch pieces. And if they were funny, they would go. So back then it would be, print magazines. You would pitch pieces. And if they were funny enough, they would get in. And if they weren't, they wouldn't. It was just starkly competitive. And then I wrote a humor column for the paper, but it was the same thing. To become a columnist, they would say, no, 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 yeah, we'll do that one. No, yeah, we'll do that one. And if you got 5 in the paper, you had the possibility of doing a columns. So I think that really stretched my skill. And that helped. And I'll say the 2 things that helped my writing the most, to your original point here, is humor writing turns out to be incredibly useful for any type of writing because humor writing is all about the timing, the pacing, and the music of the words. You have to replicate the timing of a stand-up comedian using grammar and word choice and having to get the right rhythm to set up the punchline, way to beat and nail it. You have to do that all with words. That gives you an incredible facility with sentence crafting. And so, I'll tell you, like today as a writer for the New Yorker, which is very craft focused, they really care. Writing craft is a really big deal over at the New Yorker. The training I did as a humor writer is incredibly applicable because you hear the words as music and the pausing and the rhythm. You have to actually, the performance of the reading, you think a lot about it. And that actually really helps over there. And then mathematics, just like programming, that has been the other key to my success because if you do proofs, for example, you develop this sense where it's not right, this doesn't work, the pieces don't fit, and then when the pieces fit, it's the chorus of angels, right? Like your mind is like, I don't like when things don't quite fit, and when they do, it's dopamine coming out of your ears. It led to my style of writing, which is my advice writing is very intricate. It's lay out the generative theory that lays out these pieces, and these pieces all fit together. And you might not notice it consciously when you read it, but part of the experience of my writing is that all of the pieces I'm laying out there all click together into a whole where everything fits nicely. And this is symmetric with this, and this makes sense here. And nothing is hanging out. And it reduces this cognitive drag that happens sometimes when writing's a little bit less, the ideas are a little bit less formed. And it makes it harder to write. But I think that's been a bit of a secret sauce in my work is that it's cognitively pleasing because your brain appreciates the fact that sort of nerdishly and obsessively all the pieces actually fit together.